Well, it would appear we have a family feud showdown between Vlad von Karstein and Nicholas von Karstein, who's also known as Count Noctilus. I don't know the lore specifically or if they have any interactions, but still, I would assume it's a family feud. So as far as the matchup goes, it's going to be Vampire Counts versus Vampire Coast, of course, and it's definitely a pretty fun matchup and get a little bit grindy because, of course, when two undead factions fight, their front lines aren't going to break and pretty much nothing is going to break. So it can be a bunch of units just kind of beating their heads against one another, but nonetheless, it can be pretty fun, and I feel like I've prepared for the blob fight pretty well. So here in the middle, I do have the Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone, which is going to be giving heals. It's kind of like the Walmart Mortis Engine or the Costco or whatever you want to say. And on top of that, it does have the Vigor Mortis, which can be really good in these blob fights. It's going to give melee attack and melee defense to your entire blob. And if we look at these Sternsmen here in the middle, they're at 34 and 53, which is definitely no joke. So the whole front line, obviously, I'm going to be preparing for guns. When I play Vampire Coast against Vampire Counts, I either go super wide with guns and use Celestra and a bunch of summons, or I use Luther Harkin with Death Droppers, so I feel like having the shielded infantry in the first place is pretty much a must, right? So in the front line, I got the Sternsmen, I got two Graveguard. In the secondary line, I have a couple groups of skeleton spears, just to deal with Mourngulls and large targets, and they're not going to be able to get through like large armor very efficiently like Prometheans, but nonetheless, they do serve as a bit of a roadblock. They're dirt cheap, and I think they're solid against Mourngulls. On top of that, I definitely think you need to bring some armor piercing. Now, I don't have a ton, but I do have the Graveguard with great weapons to counter Depth Guard. And these guys do really well against the standard Depth Guard as well as the Halberd variant. I mean, especially with the Corpse Card, their combat stats are no joke. On top of that, I do have a Banshee. The Banshee does have really good armor piercing. It does magic damage. It's solid. It's mobile. And a Banshee plus a Vargulf can really do some like good hunting. You can go after big targets. You can chase down Count Noctilus. I mean, the Banshee has okay mass. It can push through things relatively well. So I really think the Banshee is a solid pick. And just to make it even tougher for him to snipe me, I went very cheap with Vlad von Karstein, so I just have the summons, and if he wants to focus fire and try and snipe me, I'm just going to be popping the von Karstein ring, which gives him 90% damage resist, so if there's big focus fire, I see it coming, I pop this, and for 30 seconds, he's basically going to take no damage. So I feel like Vlad's not a bad pick in this matchup. He's pretty cool, too. So yeah, we got a couple groups of Fellbats, so just have to respect the deck droppers. If you don't, you're going to get punished. So arguably with my opponent's build, these things are going to be somewhat worthless, but I still do have 3 of them, I think, in total. We got a Vargulf in the back, which is a big target, but I knew there were some trees on this map, and I also knew I had a ton of Fellbats and backline harass. So I was like, okay, I think this thing's going to be good. It's mobile, it regenerates, it has good armor piercing, it can stick on targets, and Vargulfs are very, very strong, especially with a lot of invocations. 2 Black Knights on the flanks. Black Knights are a pretty dirt cheap choice. It costs like 700 gold, and these things can do some really good cycle charging on the powder units of the Vampire Coast. Then we got a group of angry golems, the Feasters in the Dusk here in the forest. These guys coming around with their claws and their clubs and whatever else. And yeah, they're ready to party. These guys are very good at just chewing through chaff, though. So if they're defending their flanks with like halberds, and you want to chew through their defensive flanks, super quick, right? That opens up the Black Knight play and a lot of other stuff. So I think these guys are, a good inclusion. So that's it for my force. My opponent brought a very, I wouldn't say like unorthodox because I've seen this kind of play before, but it's very different than what I like to bring, right? So basically it's just kind of a Death Star. So he has a bunch of halberds and deckhand mobs here in the front line. And they are going to be Depth Guard with polearms. Now I think these guys kind of suck. I don't know why. It seems like they never generate their value, but nonetheless, I mean, it's going to be tough. I do have the standard Graveguard in the front who don't have the best armor piercing. So this is a fair amount of armor and healing to get through. On top of that, he does have the Night Terror, so these guys are pretty good against chaff. Low damage output units in general are going to be, very, very good for these guys to fight against because they're going to be healing with the hunger and they're very strong. He's got 2 Mourngul Haunters, so a ton of just stopping power there. I mean, if these guys are going to go after Vlad, that's going to be pretty scary, but thankfully Vlad is very, very tanky. And on top of that, he's got a Rotting Leviathan. Typically, Vampire Counts, you have a little bit of trouble dealing with these type of units, like large units, without Terrorgeists. But nonetheless, I think the Vargulf and the Banshee should be up to the task. He's got Nicholas von Karstein here with the summons and invocation, some Zombos in the back, and that's pretty much it. So a very Death Star style of play. And that's one of the things that makes the Vampire Coast so strong, is like, you can play to counter their like powder, right? But if they do, they can still have very heavy blitz armies. I mean, they have very diverse tactics, right? You can go with like a massive air force, a blitzy heavy army with like Mourngulls and monsters. You can go with a powder army. So it's definitely tough to prepare for. Granted, I think my build has good answers. I mean, I feel like the Sternsmen and the Graveguard are going to do good. The Graveguard with great weapons give me some punch here. Vlad, of course, is going to help out quite a bit. And first, Wraithstorm's going to be coming down from Count Noctilus, pouring in from the skies, and it does a little bit of damage. Nothing to write home about. There we go. Okay, that was better. So it did some damage. But again, this thing, I think, just does heal, right? So it's going to heal up pretty quick. Banshee gets a little bit overzealous here, so I'm going to be pulling that back in a moment. I'm like, oh, no, I do not want any of that. So the Banshee's going to be coming back. It does get pimp slapped here by the Mourngul, so does Vlad, but now the engagement is underway. So the Graveguard are going to be rushing forward, getting slapped up pretty bad by the Mourngulls, but the Corpse Guard's going to push in. The Skeleton Spears are going to be rushing in as well. And that's really going to help to like inundate these guys. Now the Vargulf's coming in. Vargulf is going to hit pretty damn hard against the Morgul Haunter. The Haunter, of course, is a bonus for his infantry unit. So this Haunter is a little bit isolated. So Big Vladdy Daddy's going to be doing a fat invocation of Nehek to keep this Vargulf healthy, as it's beating the hell out of this Haunter. So I get it isolated. I was very happy about this. I was like, okay, the Banshee and, these other units. Vlad's going to get in there with his badass golden armor, and we're getting a ton of damage on this Haunter, which is actually a little bit blocked up. So I used the Felbats and the other units to screen and just occupy the Morgul's, right? That then allowed me to isolate this Haunter, which actually isn't able to get away here. I mean, the Banshee is very fast, Vargulfs are very fast, and things are going pretty well against that guy. In the meantime, I'm just cycle charging with the Black Knights against Halberds, which isn't great, but I'm just like charging in and out, in and out. They're not braced, obviously, so it's not the best situation. But in the forest, it's going a little bit better. You can see that the angry golems here, the Feasters in the Dusk, are going to be chewing up these zombies. Black Knights are cycle charging and helping to break them. We're getting a ton of damage. I mean, Feasters already have 35 kills, and by the course of the battle, they're probably going to have a lot more than that. So very, very grindy battle, of course, here in the middle, but we do kill that Morgul Haunter super quick. So Vlad, the Vargulf, and the Banshee just triple teaming, doing a great job. Vlad von Karstein just doing his thing. I mean, he's helping against these depth guard with the polearms here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the middle, right? So the depth guard, I think one of the groups is like almost wiped out, largely due to the fact that I do have good armor piercing here. The corpse guard, of course, is providing a lot of buffs, and Count Noctilus is just, I mean, the summons are useful, but I have the summons to boot, right? Deckhand mob summons are going to be better than my zombie summons, but I still just, can almost match that ferocity. So the Vargulf kind of moving around, and I'm just hunting down the Morgul Haunters. I know they're a pretty big threat. I do also have the Banshee kind of poking the Leviathan. There's a lot of high mass here, and of course Halberds are doing a pretty good job, but the flank is getting more and more pressured over here. There's only a couple Zombos left. The Feasters in the Dusk still at relative decent health, and the Black Knights just charging in. And even though there's no good targets for the Black Knights, anytime you rear charge something in this game, it's going to lower its leadership by like 14 or 15 temporarily. In zombie units, that's their big weakness. They have horrid leadership. So if you're able to just rear charge Zombos, they can go down very, very quickly. And it's a very efficient way to get rid of undead units. Here you can see the Feasters in the Dusk are going to be piling into the back to start chewing through that chaff. Over here, the Rotting Leviathan is going to be slapping up the Banshee, and Vlad's going to be moving in as well. Banshee is ethereal, and of course, Rotting Leviathan does not do magic damage. So man, this thing is going to be tough to kill for him without, the magic damage. I mean, Wraithstorm does magic damage, but aside from that, he doesn't really have too much. Now, the Corpse Guard here is giving me some great buffs. All my units are very, very juicy. It's giving me perpetual healing, so that on top of Invocations of Nehek, I'm very heavily dominating this ground fight. You can see that the Depth Guard with polearms are holding pretty well in this part of the battlefield. The Night Terror is actually getting really worked on by Skeleton Spears. I mean, those guys are really doing a great job. My opponent actually had to pull back. Skeleton Spears paying their dues for sure, and just the tide of undead just kind of pouring forward, slowly starting to get through the summons. My opponent does have the other Haunter here, which is a bit of a menace, and it's been tough, but I'm mainly chasing down things with the Vargulf and the Banshee, just trying my best to get on his big targets. I maybe should have gone after the Felbat, not Felbat, but the Morgul Haunter here. I just moused over the Haunter and saw the Felbat tooltip, and I was like, that's confusing. How is that a Felbat? Anyways, the Black Knights in the back are going to be falling back. He has won an engagement over here relatively, but that was just against skeletons, if I'm not mistaken. The Feasters in the Dusk and the Angry Golems in here in a pit fight, and they're applying poison to everything. Things are going pretty well. But for the most part, it's just the Vargulf just playing Benny Hill theme. Count Noctilus trying to use his anti-large, but the Vargulf's like, man, I got too much mass. I'm too thick for you, bro. So he's going to be going in, bouncing back and forth between targets, trying to get on the Haunter now. The Banshee's already over here, so I figured I had a bit of a 2 versus 1. Black Knight's just circling. I can't remember where I was thinking about going. I think I just cycle charged these zombies over here, and they just kind of crumbled from there. But the bounce power is a little bit in my favor, and I have perfect health in my infantry, right? Graveguard healthy, Stearnsman pretty healthy. Graveguard with Grey Opens are now starting to get saturated on top of those Depth Guard there, so that's pretty good. And a huge Black Knight charge coming in the back here. Black Knight's just steaming in here, and there's so many summons. I mean, Noxos, look at this. This is like a Vermintide. There are just so many undead here, but nonetheless, they're going to do nothing against my Graveguard. The Graveguard are just so damn beastly with this Corpse Guard. So, had it been like a Powder-centric build, or maybe if I hadn't brought the Corpse Guard, I mean, his ground force would have done a little bit better, but I think that healing and the melee attack buffs were just huge. So Rotting Leviathan getting an Invocation of Nehek, but every time he does it, I pretty much match him, right? Black Knights charging back in here, doing a pretty good job, and you can see, like I said, it oftentimes becomes pretty grindy, especially if both armies are, if the Vampire Coast goes with a grindy build like this with the Morgul Haunters. But I think one of the biggest things was the fact that we were able to just destroy this Haunter so early on, because it overextended a little bit, but that's what Vargulfs are good for, right? They have good mass. I honestly think breaking 2 here would have been really good. So at this point, we're just kind of grinding it out. We can do a little bit of fast forwarding, and we'll get to the later stages of the battle here. But for the most part, it's looking pretty good. We do have a duel between Vlad. Vlad is actually fighting against Count Noctilus here on the ground. And Vlad's a really good duelist. He has 75 and 55. He has 480. Less armor piercing, but he does also have the Master of Beguilement and the buffs of the Corpse Cart. And you can see here that the big crab boy is starting to get a little bit spanked up. On top of that, the Haunter is in okay shape. What do we have over here? It looks like the Night Terror is the last of these guys are going to be fighting, but the Banshee's just doing such good work, just terrorizing and sticking and moving. I mean, not really terrorizing, but you can see it's actually starting to get this Haunter a little bit low. Both my opponent and I were pathing past each other with these guys, so it looks like there's a bit of a roadblock here. Yeah, we have a duel. I mean, Count Noctilus is going to be fighting his... oh man, look at them doing some spinning shit right there. That was like a Diablo 2 Barbarian move, but the Vlad von Karstein coming in, getting some good attacks into the back of Count Noctilus, who does 45, 60, so a little bit more of a defensive fighter, but I think that Vlad is just outmatches him in terms of like a pure duelist. So Count Noctis getting spanked up pretty good there. The Rotting Leviathan tries to pull in, but you can see the tide, the just swarm of summons is finally getting worn down here. The Death Guard are reaching their end in regards to their healing cap, and the charge coming in from those Black Knights actually doing some really good damage. I'm liking that quite a bit, and you can see I do pull ahead in the Bounce of Power here. The Vargulf's going to be moving in and slapping up this Crab Boy. And yeah, you can see his Morngul's and his other units are getting very, very tattered. So at this point, it's pretty much just a matter of time. Vlad von Karstein really just out-dueling Count Noctis down here in the pits. You can see these, I don't know if they're like, I wonder what their relative pattern is, like, or not relative pattern, but, you know, their kind of family tree and like where they connect with one another. Because I know he's like, Noctis is like Nikolaus von Karstein or something. So anyways, Vlad getting in here, the Arcane Conduit going down. So pretty good on magic. You know, Noctis is getting a little bit beat up, being swarmed from every angle. So his AI is going to keep turning, and he tries to summon some zombies, which is going to do a little bit of work. But you can see here, the Night Terrors are going down, they're crumbling. The Banshee and the Vargulf are just on the hunt. And we're getting this Rotting Leviathan very low. Also charging with Black Knights to kind of pin it in place, and now you can see that this thing is going to start going down very, very quickly. The Banshee has great AP, the Vargulf has great AP, so the 150 armor isn't going to be too big of an issue, because most of the armor value there, most of their damage does ignore armor. So Crab's going down. It's less than half now. We're going to keep pathing forward. You can see the Death Guard with polearms are actually engaged with the Grave Guard with great weapons for the first time. I've been trying to get on them, but it was just so blobby. And yeah, the coast doesn't really have too many supporting elements left. The Death Guard with polearms did get a lot of kills, but it was mostly against like chaff units and just skeletons for the most part. My Grave Guard are in like perfect shape. The Crab Boy here is, you know, pretty much done for. You can see Count Noctis is going down as well. Vlad just slapping him up, Master of Gauntlet, putting his melee attack to like almost nothing. The Haunter's doing a good job, but the Banshee's going to be going after that, and that's pretty much it. If memory serves, I believe my opponent does bow out here in just a moment, as it is a very, very grindy fight. So well played. I mean, I know the game might not have been super interesting, as it was a little bit of a pit fight, but the nuances of, you know, the rear charging Cav, plus the Feasters in the Dusk, and of course Vlad being very good against Vampire Coast, I wanted to just kind of highlight that. Also, I feel like Banshees are a decent niche pick because they have Ethereal, so even if they're getting focus fired, they're going to be, you know, pretty durable with their physical resist and invocations, and they... Count Noctis is a very common pick, even on his Colossus, it's not bad. So like having Banshees just to chase him and pressure him, and Banshees can even stick on like bigger armored targets and really can mitigate a lot of their effectiveness. So I like them quite a bit. I don't know if 2 is worth bringing. Maybe it is. I don't know. But the Feasters were good. Graveguard, I only lost one group. My other Graveguard are all like perfect health. So it just goes to show that Corpse Cart can be very strong. And had he had guns, it could have been a little bit tougher, but the idea is you chew the backline open with the Feasters in the Dusk, you get the Fellbats in there to temporarily disrupt, and once they chew through, you pull in the Black Knights, you do summons of Vlad, and I feel like you can disrupt the backline of the Vampire Coast pretty well. Nonetheless, builds like this are not bad against Vampire Coast. Like, it's scary, right? Like, most of the units that are the natural counters against Rotting Leviathans, Morngul's, you know, Haunters, are large. You have Terrorgeist, and he had a lot of anti-large, right? You had the Death Guard with polearms, but I really think that my opponent's build would be vastly more optimal if he cut the Death Guard with polearms, just got more zombie chaff polearms, and maybe got like some other like high mass unit, right? Maybe like something else. I'm trying to think what I would bring. I mean, I have my own builds against Vampire Coast, but I'm trying to think like if I were in his shoes, what would I bring in terms of like monstrous play? I mean, you could even use like Prometheans, like just to kind of pin things down. I mean, they're pretty good to stop Black Knights and really just kind of, you know, give you good AP. Prometheans, yeah, I mean, even cutting those 2 Depth Guard and getting like a couple Prometheans plus some more chaff would have been better. Prometheans have really good AP. They can punch through Graveguard, and they're really tanky. I mean, it would have been tough for me to drag those guys down. They're just my 2 cents. I just think that Depth Guard with polearms just really suck, and it's just unfortunate, but Vampire Coast are so strong, they need to have a couple units that suck, so that's my 2 cents. So again, very well played to my opponent. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll just call him No Die. Look forward to facing off against you in ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Count versus Vampire Coast game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.